Hello guys, MJ here with MBJ Knowledge. We have a part 1 of magnetism. We are going to post our videos in series until we handle the questions that come in your examination under magnetism. So today we are introducing magnetism. But before we start looking at what magnetism is all about, let us first of all define what a magnet is, because magnetism, we'll look at it in terms of magnets. Okay? So what is a magnet? Okay, in simpler terms, a magnet is just a rock or a metal that creates an invisible force around it. Why are we saying a rock or a metal? Okay, when you say a rock, it means they are natural magnets, okay, that were created, natural magnets that are there underground. And there are those magnets that are man-made magnets. No wonder we've used the metal. So a magnet can either be a rock, okay, a natural magnet, or it can be a metal that creates an invisible force. So it has an invisible force around it. That invisible force that we are talking about, the invisible force, is what is known as the magnetism. So the invisible force that is being created by any magnet is called as what? Magnetism. Okay, so that's the force around the magnet. Any magnet, either a rock or a metal. I hope that one is clear. Okay, now having looked at that, we want to look at now the parts on a magnet. Okay, when you just look at a magnet has got two parts, okay, or two ends, I would say. One end faces towards the northern part of the earth. Okay, when you suspend your magnet, okay, on a string to a fixed point, you suspend your magnet, it will be found that one point of the magnet, okay, will face the northern part of the earth, and that point we call it as the North Pole. Okay, the other end is going to face or point the southern part of the earth, and that is called as the South Pole. So we have learned about what a magnet is so far. We have also learned about the ends of the magnet. To say a magnet has got the northern part and the southern part, meaning the North Pole and the South Pole. Okay, we continue. From there, we're going to look at the laws of magnetic poles. Now, since we've known that a magnet has got the North and the South Pole, okay, now what are the laws on these magnetic poles? So these we call them as poles, okay? So what are the laws? When you bring the North Pole and the North Pole, what will happen? When you bring a North Pole and the South Pole, what will happen? That is what we are looking at. That is what we mean when we say laws of magnetic poles. So here, the laws of magnetic poles, like poles, they repel. And unlike poles, they attract. So when we say like poles, it means similar poles, like the North and the North, or the South and the South. Okay? When you bring these poles that are similar to each other, they are going to repel. To repel, this word simply means just to push the other away. Okay? They are pushing each other away. All right? So let us look at this diagram here, where we bring in the South Pole and the South Pole. Here, there will be force of repulsion that will be generated here in the middle, meaning these two cannot come closer to each other. They're going to be pushing each other away. Okay, there's a force of repulsion in between here. Okay, as we go on in our lesson, we are going to explain how that force of repulsion is being generated in between the like poles. All right, then if you bring in unlike poles, meaning poles that are not the same, like the South Pole and the North Pole, a force of attraction is going to be generated in between those poles, and the poles will come in contact. Have you seen this diagram here? Okay, these two poles are coming in contact because the poles are different. So in between there was a force of attraction. No wonder the two magnets are attached to each other. But here, there's force of repulsion. We explain as we go on further why there is force of repulsion. All right, from there, let us now look at induced magnetism. Okay, so induced, to be induced is to cause, to induce is to cause something, okay, or to force something, in other words. All right, so when you say induced magnetism, this is just a temporal magnetization of a magnetic material when it is placed in contact or near to a magnet. Let me explain this statement clearly. At some point, if you've played with magnets before, you'd find that if this is a magnet here, okay, let's say we have south and then we have north here. I bring in any magnetic material closer to this magnet. For instance, we say this is a magnetic material. If this material comes closer to that magnet, what will happen is that it will be attracted to this magnet. All right? Once it gets attracted to the magnet, we assume that it has been attracted and it is attached here to this, okay? Let me just paint it. We assume that this material has been attached there, okay? Now, what will happen to this material if we bring in another thing closer to this? If we bring in anything closer to this material, it will also be attracted. What does it mean? It means this magnetic material has been formed into a magnet. It has become a magnet as well after the attraction on a magnet. So as it is still in contact with a magnet, it still remains a magnet as well. No wonder it is able to attract other materials. All right? But the moment you break the contact there, okay, the moment you break the contact between this material here and the magnet, you find that this will lose its ability to attract. Okay? So no wonder we're saying it's a temporal magnetization, meaning the temporal introduction of the ability to attract. When we talk about magnetization or magnetism, we mean the ability to attract. So there's temporal introduction of that ability to attract, okay, when it is placed near to a magnet or in contact. All right. So the process of doing this, the process of introducing that temporal magnetization, when you bring your magnetic material closer to that, that is what we call as magnetic induction. So magnetic induction is just the process of inducing magnetism in a unmagnetized magnetic material. All right, we proceed. Now we look at the same magnetic induction now, induced magnetism, which I talked about. All right, so we assume that we have an iron bar here and this is a magnet. Before it became a magnet, before these pores that you are seeing on this iron bar, it was just a magnetic material. But because it is coming closer to the magnet. Now, surrounding this magnet, okay, there's an invisible force that we talked about. And that invisible force is what we call as the magnetism. So there is magnetic field surrounding this magnet. So as this iron bar comes closer to this magnet, what will happen is that there will be magnetism that will be induced in this bar. There will be the ability to attract that will be introduced into this bar. Okay? So now, since there is that force of attraction, okay, and we said the laws on magnetic induction on the magnetic poles is that unlike poles they attract, like poles they repel. So since this bar is being attracted, it means this will generate an opposite polarity to this. So if it's a north pole which is attracting this iron bar, then that end which is being attracted for the iron bar will get an opposite pole to that. In this case, it is the north pole. No wonder you're seeing the south pole on that iron bar. So there's an induced magnetism in that. The end nearer to the north pole will become an induced south pole. Okay, so it is getting an opposite pole, because if it gets the same pole, it means it cannot be attracted. It has to be repelled. All right. So you have to make sure you remember in your mind all the times that Induced magnetism is just temporal. It is not permanent. Okay? The moment you break that contact, all the ability goes off. All right? Let's look at some magnetic materials and non-magnetic materials. So when we say magnetic materials, we mean the materials or the metals that can be attracted by a magnet. Of course, non-magnetic means they cannot be attracted by a magnet. All right. Let's give out some examples, okay? So the first one, under magnetic materials, we have this. We have iron, cobalt, nickel, steel. We have so many under magnetic materials. All right. Then the non-magnetic materials, we have wood, copper, paper, glass, plastic, and so many more. These are just a few. Okay. So now from here, what is going to interest us is that under the magnetic materials, we have materials that are used at a larger scale, or that have got a bigger application in the world, and that is steel and iron. So our discussion in this topic will be based on iron and steel. So before we go into detail, let us look at their differences first of all. All right. So the difference between iron and steel, we'll look at 4 properties actually, all right, in terms of magnetization, in terms of demagnetization, and also the application, as well as the example of that application. So when you have iron, in terms of magnetization, okay, when you say magnetize, we mean how quick, okay, can you introduce the ability to attract in an iron or in a steel metal. All right. So for iron, it is easy. Okay. So meaning iron, you can introduce the ability to attract very easily. The moment you bring it in contact with a magnet, it gets the ability to attract. At the same time, it becomes very strong. All right. It is easy to magnetize, and at the same time, it becomes very strong immediately. But let us look at what about steel. Steel, it is hard, meaning it is very difficult for you to magnetize a steel bar. It takes time for it to gain the ability to attract. No wonder it becomes weak, because it takes time. So after some few minutes, or the moment you bring it into contact with a magnet, it is still, yes, it will gain the ability to attract, but very weak, because it gets that ability at a slower pace compared to iron. No wonder we're saying it is very weak. What about in terms of magnetization? Iron, being easy to get the ability to attract, at the same time, it becomes strong. But when it comes to magnetization, iron is easily giving out that ability to attract. Easily give out the ability to attract. But still, even if it is very difficult for it to get the ability to attract, at the same time, it is very difficult for it to give out the ability to attract. I hope you're seeing those differences. All right. So now, because of this property that iron has, it has its own application. That is, it is used to make electromagnets. Okay. So electromagnets are made using soft iron. Why? Because you want something that can easily gain the ability to attract and becomes very strong immediately. At the same time, when there is a power cut, you expect that material to lose its ability to attract, and it is only iron that can do that. All right. Then still, because of its property, it is used to make permanent magnets. Okay. So permanent magnets, you need something that can retain the ability to attract for a longer period of time. Okay. So the examples of electromagnets, we can have them in a transformer. We have electromagnets. Okay. And then permanent magnets, we can give an example of a generator. Okay. Now let us look at the examples now in terms of their differences. Let us use diagrams now. We want to look at why do we say iron becomes strong, and why do we say steel becomes weak as it is being magnetized. Okay, so we'll look at these diagrams. Okay, we have iron and steel, and then we have a permanent magnet. So we assume that they are both going into to be attached to one pole, which is a north pole. Okay, now look at this. There is contact here. Okay, they've been both introduced to a north pole and in contact, in fact. Now look at iron. Have you seen the number of nails that it has attracted compared to the number of nails that steel has attracted? Immediately they've been attached to a permanent magnet. Of course, you'd see that here on the iron, there are a lot of nails that have been attracted compared to steel. The reason is that iron becomes very strong immediately you attach it to a magnet. But for steel, it becomes weak because it takes time for it to gain the ability to attract. No wonder it has just attracted a few nails. Now, let's see what happens if you break the contact now. You remove these both metals from a magnet. What happens? Boom. Look at iron. It has given out all the nails. But look at steel. Attracted a few nails. So this is what we meant. Iron is very easy to be demagnetized. No wonder when you break that contact, it loses its ability to attract, loses its magnetism. Immediately, whatever was attached to it, they're given out. Okay? Now, the difference on the steel will still maintain or retain some ability to attract even after breaking the contact. It will maintain that for a while. It will keep those nails. All right. So we have to know that iron and steel here, they're two different metals. Okay. So iron is soft, steel is hard when it comes to keeping the ability to attract. Okay. So this is just explaining what we've just explained there. So in our next lesson, we're going to look at now the methods that we can use to magnetize a magnetic material. Don't miss out actually in this next lesson, okay? Because after that lesson, now we'll look at the actual questions in the examinations, then we'll proceed like that. All right. So if you gained something from this video, please give it a like and don't forget to follow and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.